No, but seriously, this game is awesome. As you could see for yourself, this thing is hard. I guarantee you that once you're done with this game, you will have elevated from being brain dead to being Einstein. Now, it definitely sparked my interest when I heard it came from the creator of Braid, the game that changed the way indies were shaped after its release. Well, now, Jonathan Blow definitely blew my mind in both the figurative and the literal sense in just how extremely careful and precious this game actually introduces itself to you. In fact, for a puzzle game, this is definitely the hardest game I have ever played. And it has tons of material that altogether really do qualify this title for being one of the best indie puzzles of the year. So let's take a quick look at all the new and great things The Witness brings to the table, to who this actually is addressed to, like what is its target audience, and let's also take a look at what things might actually set you off. If I would have to explain The Witness, as in how it works in detail, that would take a considerably long time to do. But you can basically dim it down to this. You're waking up on an island where you are left to solve for over 420 puzzles that all use the same concept, where you basically have to draw a line through a square or rectangle grid and bring it from one point to the other. As you would expect, pretty simple, right? But it becomes very, very complicated. First, I would briefly like to mention just how insane the massive amount of art and sound design is. The island and environments of this game are outright beautiful. As they are an essential element to solve many puzzles, it makes me scared to realize just how much thought has been put into the visuals. The result from this is that, without exaggerating, not a single object in the game has been meaninglessly used. All of them have their purpose, and it goes just as deep as even rendering the shadows in a specific shape around you. And some objects, actually some shapes in the island, are meant to change depending on the way you look at them, depending on from which perspective you're looking at them. It's really crazy, and it is without a doubt AAA quality. But let's talk about what we all want to know. Is this game for you? For who is this really made for? Depending on what exactly drives you is very important to consider before buying The Witness. In fact, you might even have noticed that it got a fair share of negative reviews, and I can tell you that those are mostly for the wrong reasons. First, there's a debate of whether this is a puzzle game. People are actually saying that this is not a puzzle game because it is just too hard. Now, allow me to say that this is bullshit. It's absolutely a puzzle game, and if you cannot solve the puzzles because you don't spend enough time in them, that's your problem. You see, what people don't understand is that The Witness changes the way that puzzles have been presented to us before. In most puzzle games, you will be served a certain puzzle, you do it a few times, and then you're done with that, and then you're being presented a new puzzle, a new concept, and you're gonna have to analyze it all over again. You solve it, and then you get to the next one. However, here it's different, because from the first puzzle, you already understand the concept that all the other puzzles are going to be about. What really changes here is the mental process across all these same concepts and all these same puzzles. I would argue that this is even its biggest achievement. It makes you realize that for one single concept, there is an endless amount of variations. In fact, you can bring it even further. It's because this concept is so simple that it hides its complexity. You know, this is why people are giving it a hard time, because the island is legitimately giving you a hard time back, and it does it very well and in a very clever way. So yes, unless you are a hardcore puzzle maniac, you will probably not connect to the gameplay very well. Only patience and clever thinking will bring you forward here. You should surrender and prepare yourself for the challenge and be willing to crack all of the code on the island. I can safely say that if you are not really into puzzles, there will be no pleasant way for you to experience 90% of the entire island. Since you are required to actively seek new symbols that are left unexplained to you and basically build up a language, build up a puzzle language to, start solving some puzzles that are combining multiple symbols that can be found across the island, you will have to spend many hours just walking from one point to the other and basically skipping puzzles that you are finding on your path because you still cannot solve them. This very experience has clearly been putting off a lot of players. But since it is clearly the nature of this game, it is really designed that way, it should be recommended for what it does right, and it does that very thing extremely well. It should be understood before you can make a valuable argument, because a lot of the bad reviews are just from people that have played it 1 or 2 hours. I mean, if you don't open yourself to the island and the game, and basically even the creator will not open itself to you. I spent over 27 hours in the game to get just 2 endings. So I would argue that 27 hours is really a lot of value for your money, and that was all real playtime. Finally, important to highlight is the debate of whether this is story-driven or not. It seems to be a hot topic on the Steam forums and Reddit. The most important thing I could say towards you for making up your point about that is that there is no such narrative story that is in a classical sense that is being explained by characters where you can make a conclusion at the very ending. Instead, try to consider all the available audio logs and video logs on the island as kind of, reflections of Jonathan Blow's philosophies on multiple aspects such as life and things happening in the community, and also just very simply the puzzles.
A poet once said, "The whole universe is in a glass of wine." We will probably never know in what sense he meant that, for poets do not write to be understood. But it is true that if we look at a glass of wine closely enough, we see the entire universe.
He's trying to communicate with you in, a cryptic way. So if you are really, 100% story-driven, then I would not completely suggest The Witness, since its story is, it's flat. I mean, it's difficult to even say that there is a story in general, because I wouldn't immediately say that you can make up something from all of the available collectibles in the game. The focus is put on the puzzles, and that's what it does at its best across the entire board.
A shipowner was about to send to sea an emigrant ship.
There are so many other things I could mention, it's just crazy. But I think I have said the most important things for you, at least to make up your mind, you know, of whether you like all of these great things from The Witness or not. Instead, let me tell you some of the things that you might not like. One major recurring problem, especially as if you scan the forums, is that a lot of people are having motion sickness, and it's tied to the field of view. Now the field of view in this game is you know, it's things are pretty close to you, and it causes for many people to become disorientated and to actually feel sick. So if you don't like, if you can't really bear motion sickness, then this could actually be a problem for you. And another, you know, experience that comes very often back is frustration. Now don't give in to the frustration. Like I said before, don't surrender yourself, but some puzzles, just a few, are so difficult that, you know, for the time that you're gonna spend in them, it starts to remove a little bit the fun, because they are just so trickery and so precisely made and with unclear rules that it removes the will for you to solve them. And I think that some do not actually deserve to be in the game because they are just way too hard. But other than these two things, I mean, this game has been optimized and designed to the bone. And at the end of the day, it cultivated your way of thinking and, you know, approaching the one and same problematic concept from, you know, just any possible direction that you could think of. All of that combined with the massive amount of hours of gameplay and the top-notch visuals drive my final judgment for this game to a 9 out of 10, being an absolute recommendation for any hardcore and, you know, even just any fan of a puzzle game. If you haven't bought the game by now, I seriously encourage you to do so. But I do warn you, like you could see in the beginning of the video, it could drive you mad. Seriously. This was Gaming Reviews, and I will see you in the next review.